Hi guys, today I'm having a sort of a dedication day because I'm going to go through the adjective endings again. And the reason why I'm going to go through the adjective endings again is because a young lady, a subscriber, I met in this local supermarket and she's shortly doing her exams and she asked me to do it. So I was greatly shocked and greatly surprised to be able to meet a subscriber. I hadn't met a subscriber before, and because sometimes I feel as I'm talking to myself or teaching myself sometimes online, but it was absolutely wonderful to be able to meet somebody and to hear the opinions of a subscriber and in the flesh, no less, which was really, really nice. So she's doing her exam very shortly, her Leaving Cert exams, and she's having difficulty with the adjective endings. So I said, look, I already did a video on it, but she said, but could you do another one and be a few more exercises so that she could go to the Leaving Certificate, her final exam, and have some more confidence. First of all, don't forget to like and subscribe because and say something in the commentary, and because you have no idea just how wonderful it was for me to hear from a subscriber. So here we go. The adjective endings after the definite article. Now this will include the words for this, which is dieser, jeder, which is each, and welcher, which means which, because they're all the same. So you'd have, this is a masculine version, but you'd also have a feminine version and a neuter version. For example, the feminine version would be diese, ending in e, jeder, and welche. And the neuter version would be dieses, jedes, and welches. So they're all going to be done like their equivalent definite article. Now, I hope you understand that, because the equivalent definite article is der, die, das, and die. So we have the genitive there. All the cases have been looked at. Rule number 1, and this is what she really asked me, are there any rules that I could write onto my exam paper or sheet as soon as I went in the door so that I could always go back and forth to it? So, rule number 1, the adjective or descriptor takes en in all cases. This is in the definite article. Takes en in all cases, except in the singular nominative masculine, nominative and accusative feminine, and nominative and accusative neuter, when it takes an e. So you'll see now in a minute what that looks like on the shape. So I'll go through that again. The adjective or descriptor takes en. So you have a high possibility with an en of getting it right in all cases, except in the singular nominative masculine, nominative and accusative feminine, and nominative and accusative neuter when it takes e. That's all very fine learning that off, but my word of advice to you is try and understand it and look at it with examples, because you may have your rule, but are you able to apply that rule? And do you know your nominative and do you know your accusatives? Here's what it looks like. Look at all the areas which take en. So here you have your nominative masculine, your nominative and accusative feminine, your nominative and accusative neuter when the adjective ends in e. All the rest is en. So really you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas for e after the definite article. And remember, the definite article will include also welcher, jeder, dieser as well. So there's a huge amount of options. Look, I would say to myself, well, everything takes en except for these areas here. I would home my learning into that. Here's some examples. Der große Mann, there's your nominative masculine. Die kleine Frau, the nominative feminine. Das süße Kind, the nominative neuter. And look at the nominative plural, die netten Schüler, ending in en. Nominative masculine, nominative feminine, nominative neuter, and the nominative plural ending in en. Few examples of the accusative. Now, hope that this young lady is going to get a good look at this. So, ich sehe den großen Mann. There's the accusative masculine ending in en. Remember, that wasn't one number 1. So we take a look at it again. Look, die kleine Frau, das süße Kind, and then the plural, die netten Schüler. So they're in the accusative case. Remember, you had en in the masculine, en in the plural, and the only places you had e was in the feminine and in the neuter. Then we had the dative case. En, 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 en. So my goodness. So all your adjectives in the dative case end in en, and similarly, all the adjectives in the genitive case end in en. So what if you say to yourself again, all the adjectives end in en in the masculine accusative, all the plurals, all of the datives, and all of the genitives. Have you seen that? Now take a photograph of that now. Take a quick snap. And this is after the definite article. That is der, die, and das. Now write that down. This is for the definite article, der, die, and das, or jeder, or welcher, or you have dieser as well. I have der Hut des großen Mannes, of the big man, the big man's hat. Der Hut der kleinen Frau, the little woman's hat. Der Hut des süßen Kindes, the sweet child's hat. Die Hüte der netten Schüler, the nice pupils' hats, sind auf dem Tisch, are on the table. Just examples for you. You could have many, many examples. So this is where you get your Übung is, and you have to do an Übung with a bit of self-searching, for want of a better word. You will see often in exams, you find the singular, masculine, or feminine, or neuter, or plural of the following. So then you could do it in the reverse. So, for example, you're going to say, okay, I'm seeing die Sandalen, that's plural. I have learned that all the adjectives in the plural, in the definite article, end in en. So the answer here should be Mutti kauft die roten Sandalen. It's der Mantel ist im Kleiderschrank. In the, what's a Kleiderschrank? On your wardrobe. So this is a nominative masculine. So to flick back up here, again, my nominative masculine, e. So that we keep at this until you can really get it. So be der schwarze Mantel ist im Kleiderschrank. Die Farbe des. Okay, so des tells me it's going to be my genitive, and we know that all of the genitive adjectives end in en. Die Farbe des neuen Autos. Now I'm putting again S there because of the genitive. Mag ich nicht. Just threw in that just to make sure you're wide awake. So when you see a genitive, you know in the definite article, I'm going to keep saying this, the definite article is, you know, that's going to end in en. Keep saying that to yourself because there's so many of them ending in en. Some people say that the best thing to do is to learn the ones that end in e and knowing that all the rest end in en. Wo ist der? So then that's masculine nominative case. So then that ends in e. Wo ist der neue Mantel? We've got dative plural. So we know that the adjectives in the dative plural always end in en. So das Zimmer ist schön mit den neuen Gardinen. That means the room is nice with the new curtains. Mit den neuen Gardinen. What have we got here? Only während des. There's my genitive. So we know straight away. I shouldn't be there. What's that doing there? Gehe ich schwimmen. So, während des schönen, because it's genitive, always end in en. And then, oh yeah, Wetters. That's why I was there. Wegen des schönen Wetters gehe ich schwimmen. Again, putting the S onto the noun in the genitive. That's why that was there. I put that down there, so maybe it might be better, easier for people when they see it. Ich brauche. Now, Apfel is masculine. Ich is my nominative. Now, this is where it gets tricky. If you don't know your masculine accusative, look for your verb. Look for the door of the verb. You have it there, so that's your nominative. So then this must be the accusative direct object. So it's der Apfel, but der changes to den. And then you put your masculine accusative ending in en. And then you have here banana. So that's feminine. And then you have die reife Banane für den Obstsalat. So again, now I hope you're learning, and particularly that young girl, because I really did feel sorry for her, because she was very, very worried about her exam. So ich brauche den roten Apfel und die reife Banane für den Obstsalat. Is that clear? So the reason why I have a den there, because the masculine accusative. And then, of course, the masculine accusative adjective ends in en, as we saw. Here we have again, wo ist, and it's, again, the verb to be always takes the nominative case, so then der neue Mantel. So that's in front of the definite article. And remember, just to remind you, that the definite article is der, die, das, and die, or variations of that. Dieser, jeder, welcher, any of those. Rule number 2. Are you ready for that now? Now take your time over this. Take your time. If you have to stop the video, have a good think, look at the examples, and look at certain things that you have to do for your exams. The adjective or descriptor endings after eine, or ein, which is the indefinite article, a, or the word for kein, which means no, or mein, dein, sein, or unser, euer, ihr, and ihr. So all the personal pronouns are my, yours, his, and hers, and our. All of those will follow this rule. So this is the tricky bit, because you often come up in your exams, you'll have mein, dein, and sein, and that will trigger a memory in your brain about ein. But when you see unser, and when you see euer or ihr, that doesn't trigger any memory in your brain. So make sure that you have that as part of your revision. Now the same thing again. The adjective endings take en in all cases, except in the nominative singular masculine when it takes er, nominative and accusative feminine when it takes e, and nominative and accusative neutral when it takes es. For example here, ein blauer Pullover. Now notice the er here. And I often say to my pupils, look, it's just robbing the er from the definite article. So ein blauer Pullover, eine weiße Krawatte. There you have your e. And then you have ein graues Hemd. Now es. Now, quite a few people have asked, well, why isn't it, if it's following the same as the definite article, es and e and the er coming, why is it not as or as? The reason for that is, lots of the time, is pronunciation. So it's es, and that's the pronunciation. Grauas would be much more difficult to say than graues. And it's really for pronunciation, and that's how a language evolves. And then look at when you have keine schwarzen Schuhe, because remember there's no plural of ein, and the only way we can get a plural would be using kein or mein, dein, sein, any way of those. Ich trage einen blauen Pullover. Okay, there's your masculine singular accusative, the en. Eine weiße Krawatte, ein graues Hemd und keine schwarzen Schuhe. And then the Beispiele Dativ, again en, always ending en. Zu einem blauen Pullover, einer weißen Krawatte, einem grauen Hemd passt ein Schal. Okay, so you can see the dative always ending in en, and you can see also that the genitive will also end in en. So the really only areas you have to be watching out for is really the nominative and accusative. Wegen seines strengen Vaters, on account of a strict dad. Wegen seines braven Kindes, on account of his well-behaved child. Wegen ihrer schönen Kinder, on account of your nice children. All of that. So there's examples of where your endings are. You have er, your masculine, and then e in the feminine, es in the neuter, and everything else is en. So perhaps if you take a photograph of that, take yourself out, and remember even the shape of it, hatchet or whatever, er, e, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. And everything else is en. So you really only have to be absolutely so careful with the nominative and the accusative. Adjective endings I'm talking about now. Der Schal. So, ich kaufe einen roten Schal. I'm buying a red scarf. Masculine accusative, ending in en. Well, we have two things here. Ich trage, now hose is feminine, Hemd is neuter. And what case have I got? Well, it's accusative. My nouns are singular and they're both in the accusative. So then I would attack it. So, ich trage eine graue Hose und ein graues Hemd. Got that? So the first thing you ask yourself is, what case is it? What gender is the noun? Is it singular or plural? And when you ask yourself those three questions before you actually do your exam or your test, if you're tested on the adjectives. Here's plural. And the plural one, you don't really need to know your gender. All you need to know really that it is plural. And of course, which case it is. Oh, that's an obvious one. So ich kann hier. Now it's obviously accusative. I have no prepositions or anything like that. Keine roten Äpfel kaufen or finden. Look what that did. Plural. Keine. Keine is like taking the E from the D. And then your plural adjective end in the en. Now, if you want to have a stop for a second, take a look at that. Draw your breath. See, is there anything there that you don't understand? And if you have taken a photograph of the charts that I gave you, you can take a look at those as well. Or keep going over this video. Peter kauft. Okay, what have we got here? Buch. Well, that's singular. It's accusative. And it's neuter. And now we have, I refer to as my snakes in the grass, für, which takes the accusative. And Freundin, as you know, is feminine. And it's singular. So you have here a feminine, accusative, singular. So then I will be writing Peter kauft ein, because it's neuter, schönes, because it's neuter, für, now feminine, seine neue Freundin. There you have es, remember? Nominative and accusative, neuter. Now if you want to check again, look, and the rest are all in. Now I hope this is doing that young lady the world of good, and you don't need to fear your German exam. Now the next one is about Petra. This is a girl. Petra und ihr Bruder. So they're your subjects of the sentence. Haben, and what do they have? And it's in the plural, Tiere. Petra und ihr kleiner Bruder haben. They're the nominative cases, and then the verb haben. Straight after haben, you have the accusative. And what do they have not? They have no tame animals. So they have accusative plural, keine, and then the adjective in the plural, which is Samen, Tiere auf dem Bauernhof. Bauernhof. There you had that. So you had, I was too kind to you there. I just put that Sam, but as in Sam, too much information given to you there. So you have here, Petra und ihr kleiner Bruder haben keine zahmen Tiere auf dem Bauernhof. I might cut that there and put it underneath it. Okay, so there we have Petra und ihr kleiner Bruder haben keine zahmen Tiere auf dem Bauernhof. Right, the next one. We've got a Hund. So Maria bringt. Okay, so now we have an accusative masculine. It's singular. So masculine, accusative, singular. Now we have a zum, which makes something into the next one with dative. What are we going to put? So Maria bringt. Now the Hund. So we her, ihren, kleinen Hund. Zum, that's zu takes the dative. So then Freund, watch out for those snakes in the grass. Freundlichen Tier Arzt. Maria brings her small dog to the friendly vet. Geben Sie mir bitte, give me what, and the what being in the accusative. Bleistift is masculine, it's singular, and it's accusative. So the adjective has to look like this. So, geben Sie mir bitte, always be polite, einen roten Bleistift. What have I got here? My number 8. Right, mine. Okay, this is spielt. So mine something spielt. So who's the subject of spielen? It's my brother. And where does he play? In the new park. So because of in, the dative case. So you know what's going to happen there. And if you don't know, check. So mine, this is the nominative case. And the nominative masculine takes er. Mein kleiner Bruder spielt in dem neuen Park Fußball. There you have en because it's dative. Er because it's nominative. Rule number 3. The adjective ending when there is no der, die, das, or die, or ein type words. Nothing. What's the rule there? The adjective endings look like the definite article of each case, but without the die. There are some exceptions because of the das, es is not going to be as. The genitive masculine and neuter have en. They're the only ones that you have to watch out for. So look what you have here. So when there's no der, die, das, and die, this is what your adjective will look like, all on its own. But just take a look at the this one is a bit dodgy, very dodgy, isn't it? Now it doesn't come up very often now, mind you. So I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Doesn't come up very often. But the fact is, it's there. And here's some examples. Deutscher Wein, German wine. Frische Milch, fresh milk. Kaltes Bier, cold beer. Lange Haare. Now, people who've been learning from the very beginning would be talking about have long brown hair. You have a lange braune Haare. And this is the reason why you eat lange Haare, because it takes the E from the D, and the D isn't there. The accusative, Deutschen Wein, frische Milch, kaltes Bier, and you have your lange Haare again. I wrote it in here just in case anyone is getting out. So, next one. Deutschen Wein Dativ, there's your EM. Frischer, Milch, remember, EM, ER, EM. And there's your adjective in the plural dative. And then back down here, you'll have your genitive, which is a bit tougher, but not often used. You'll see it on occasion, right? So there you have. Now, a few examples that I gave you. Deutscher Wein ist teuer. German wine is expensive. Ich mag deutschen Wein, there's the accusative. Mutti kocht mit deutschem Wein. Der Geschmack deutschen Weins ist prima. Now there's your example. And not a definite article in sight. Frische Milch ist gesund. This is the feminine versions. Ich mag frische Milch. Ich backe mit frischer Milch. With the feminine dative. Und der Preis frischer Milch ist hoch. Price of fresh milk is high. Neutrum. Watch out for this one though. Kaltes Bier schmeckt prima. Cold beer tastes lovely. Ich mag kaltes Bier. I like cold beer. There's your accusative. This is your dative. Zu kaltem Bier esse ich gern chips. I like eating chips with cold beer. Zu kaltem Bier. And then der Geschmack kalten Biers ist sehr gut. The plural, like the lange Haare, rote Äpfel sind billig. Ich esse gern rote Äpfel. Ask yourself, is there a definite article? And if there isn't, then a lot of the times, all you learned when you're at very beginner stage, I have brown hair, blue eyes, lange Haare, brown hair, blaue Augen, all that, those type of things will help you for the plurals. Mit roten Äpfeln kann man backen. You can bake with red apples. Der Geschmack roter Äpfel ist gut. I searched to find some exam questions. And one of the questions was, lesen Sie den folgenden Text und sehen Sie sich das Beispiel an. And take a look at the example. Setzen Sie dann die fehlenden Adjectivendungen ein. So, als mein Vater im Ausland arbeitete, when my father worked abroad, ging ich auf viele internationale Schulen. There you have, without the der, das, you have the D in the plural, so you have your E on your adjective. What do you think this could be? Okay, the first thing I have my word, my descriptor is schüchtern, which is shy. My word that I'm describing, my descriptor, is the Mädchen. And we know that Mädchen is neuter. Now, we also hear, weil ich ein war. So that means are going to be used. Well, I have ich war, which, and because it's the verb to be, no matter what anyway, it's going to be what? Weil ich ein schüchternes Mädchen. And that would be that. War hatte ich nie. Now, no, and here I've got Freunde, meaning friends. I have no definite article or indefinite article. I have nothing. So that means A. In der Schule einer Kleinstadt sah ich Johnny. Sometimes it helps to translate it. In the school of. Of tells me it's genitive. So we know all the adjectives in the genitive case take en. So that was easy enough when you had that learned. Sah ich Johnny zum. There's your dative, like zudem or zum, and you know the dative always ends in en. Dark hair would be the same as lange Haare. So then we had just an ordinary E. Look how often this is coming up. And then schmale Augen. Und war immer mit seiner, okay, mit is your dative preposition, mit seiner coolen Clique zusammen. In der Uni traf ich Johnny wieder. Dort fiel er eines Tages über seinen, there's your clue there, and Mantel being masculine singular, and über, accusative, über seinen, then langen Mantel. Und musste ins Krankenhaus. Ich fand eine, now Plakette, that tells me it's feminine, but even the eine tells you here, and you're going to be putting what? An E here. Okay, mit einer Nummer an Johnnys Schlüssel und öffnete die Tür sein es. That means the genitive, and if the genitive we're going to have, of course, en at the end. So that's it. Now, I hope that makes it a bit clearer for everybody, and go back over it many, many times. And then I'm sure you have done loads and loads and loads and loads of exercises with your own teachers. But again, take photographs of this, stop the video when you see something that you need to take a photograph of to come back to. And it really will help. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That would help me. And it really, I have to say, meeting one of my subscribers in the supermarket was a great thrill. Anyway, bis zum nächsten Mal. Until the next time. Remember, bis zum nächsten Mal. And that's why the nächsten has an en. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Dative, I'm German, made easy from scratch.